Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we proudly provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK, and my show today is Talking Heads. And before I begin, I do have a special announcement, which is that today is our 4-year anniversary. And I was looking for the graphic. There it is. So we are celebrating 4 years in business, having evolved from rapping with Dr. Jacalyn to a global broadcast network in over 60 countries. And everything that we do is built on something that I created called elevated listening. So if you've joined me before, this is my 3rd episode for this year, and I'm truly grateful to be able to be here. The first 2 episodes, in case you missed them, were what no one tells you about running a business and why smart businesses fail, what no one wants to talk about. So you can find these 2 episodes over on our playlist, which I'll put up the graphic for that. We have 2 YouTube channels and we stream to a number of places, but these are the 2 channels on YouTube. So if you are watching somewhere else, I would love if you would go over and just subscribe. It just takes a couple of seconds to do so, and then you'll be made aware of all of our programming. Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, I own 2 businesses. I had no experience as an entrepreneur whatsoever. I was in corporate America until March the 6th of 2020. And now I have my television network, and then I have my own business under my own name, Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK, or Dr. Jacalyn LLC, sorry. So what we want to focus on today is how we move from systems and decisions to the actual human costs behind them. And what happens when leaders carry so much responsibility and basically in isolation. So if you are a business owner or you're thinking about becoming a business owner, we do a lot of things by ourselves. We have to make a lot of decisions. Sometimes it feels like it's in a vacuum or a void. And we have to be able to take that fear and all of the emotions that come up and make a logical or rational decision. So business owners, especially when we start, I'm 4 years in, and there are a number of things I do make decisions on by myself, but I'm much further along than I was when I first started. So I'm here to share some wisdom and expertise and some of my own experience so that I hope it will help you. I'm also currently enrolled in the Wharton School of Business, and I'm taking the Chief Strategy Officer program, which goes until December of this year. So I will be sharing some highlights from what I'm learning as well. So we're going to be talking today about when leadership, you as a leader, quietly go into what I call just being alone, solitary. You've heard of solitary confinement, which is a punishment. I don't mean that. I mean, we as business owners often lose that support network that we had as our role expands. And what is the reason for that? There's many reasons. Sometimes people are jealous. Sometimes people are jealous that you own your own business and that you're actually turning a profit and it's successful. Other times people are not interested in what you have to say because they're in a different phase of their life, or they don't understand exactly what you're doing and they don't want to do any research on it, Or the fourth is they simply just do not care. So all of these are valid reasons. But as a business owner, I know for myself, it's more than just me. I have people paying me. I have people relying on me, counting on me to make sure that things are going as they're supposed to. And also, is there an exit strategy? Is there a set of systems and structures in place if something were to happen and someone had to step in? So all of these things are quite important. So wherever you are in the course of your business, think about, are you creating a business that is sustainable without you in it? And I'll give an example. So my other business is Dr. Jacalyn LLC. And that's my business where I do keynote speeches, I do my courses, my master classes, my books. So without Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK, is that business viable? I would say probably not. I'm sure there is some way to keep the books out there forever and the courses you can download. But in terms of fresh new content, in terms of someone getting on the stage and giving a keynote speech or leaving a live masterclass, no one can be me. So there's something to be said about that. And that's part of the reason why when I first started USA Global TV LLC, that I separated church and state, if you will, so that this business, the television network, is not based just on me. Am I the one who is making decisions about how we're moving forward? Absolutely. But we have people who are trained as producers. And I've also recently, as of today, written a production manual so that that can be shared with anyone. And of course, we have people doing marketing and search engine optimization, et cetera, et cetera. So think about, how much are you in the business versus how much are you sort of like the eagle overlooking the business so that you can actually see where you're going? And what is your strategy? What is your value? And what is your value statement? We'll be talking about these things in future episodes. But for today, we're going to stay on the fact that as we grow our businesses, many times we lose the support network that we used to have. And we have to make decisions. And when we make these decisions, we can count on some other people who might be mentors or coaches or maybe other business owners. But even when that happens, we still are the ones making the decision. Because if we're relying on others to make the decision for us, then we have to accept the consequences that come with that. That means we're turning over our control and our inner knowing of what it is we want to do to someone else. And when that happens, who knows what's going to happen with the business. I want to talk a little bit about the fact that while we are in this role of leader and we are alone, that there's an emotional and strategic toll that takes place because of this. When we are the ones who are making the decisions, sometimes those decisions come as judgment from other people. So what do I mean by that? People may judge the decisions that I make. My team members, my inner circle, my coaches, my mentors, my colleagues, sponsors, etc. They may say, "Why did she make that decision?" And they're judging. But I make the decisions to the best of my ability based on not just my intuition, which is a huge factor, but also my research. So for those of you who know me, I have a master's degree and I have a doctorate, and I don't say it from a place of ego, but I'm used to doing research, and I research quite a bit. And I don't just take one entity and whatever it is that they have to say. So when I was doing my doctoral dissertation, I had to triangulate data. So I looked at 3 different points of data and had to compare them. And so that's what I do today when I'm doing my research. I'm not just going to take one person's opinion. I'm actually going to look for something that's called peer-reviewed articles, other people who have experience in the area, they have doctorates or masters, etc. So doing your research is also very isolating, because while you're doing your research, your friends and your colleagues might be out having fun. Today, for example, is a holiday here in the States, Martin Luther King Day. And I've had a few people reach out to me and say, "Are you going to be working today?" And my response was, I work every day. It doesn't matter if it's a holiday, if it's my birthday, it doesn't matter what it is. I work every day because I run my own businesses. So When you run your own business, you have to make decisions like that too. Are you taking a lot of time off? Because if you are, and you don't have a structure in place, who's running your business? Now, I'm at the point which I'm really grateful that over the summer I was able to go abroad 3 different times and I had people running my business for me. Now, there's still things I have to do because I'm always checking to make sure things are going well. It's never totally hands off, and I wouldn't want it to be. But carrying that emotional load of knowing that you can and will be judged for the decisions that you make, even a decision like, oh, working on a holiday, people might judge that. But typically, when people are judging, it's really a reflection of what's going on with them, for which I have no judgment. So just be aware of the fact that as you make decisions, people might be evaluating them, they might be judging you, etc. Now, this also can have a big impact on our energy and our ability to be creative. So, what I've done is I've been able to create an environment, even when I'm traveling, so that my isolation doesn't turn to burnout. And I'm not stalling my abilities to grow. In fact, I'm coming up with new ideas all the time. But that doesn't mean that everyone embraces it or everyone understands it. But I work in such a capacity. I've got my green screen behind me. I'm actually traveling, I'm not in my studio. And I've got my computer and the lights. And so I'm ready to go. And I can really broadcast from anywhere. I'm dressed professionally. I've been prepared for the episode. So, whatever it is that you're doing, you could have sort of a go to strategy that when you're not able to be in the office, that you can still function and still work. But what I'm doing does necessitate a lot of creativity and a lot of energy. And that means sometimes I have to set up a boundary that no, I can't go and do this. No, I can't give feedback on that because I'm in the midst of doing what it is that I'm doing. But as a result of doing that, I've been able to come up with courses. I'm able to write books. I'm able to come up with new shows. I just did a show right before this called Let's Finally Talk. And so I have set myself up for success based on the fact that I am isolated for the most part, but I'm using it as a way to generate creativity. And you might have other ways that you generate creativity. When we get to a point where we feel like we need help, sometimes our pride doesn't let us. Even though we may be very capable, very responsible, we may still need some help. But we don't ask for the help because we don't want it to appear as we don't know what we're doing or that we're uncertain as to how to run a business. So we have to look at this. When do you raise your hand and say, I need help? And then how do you ask for that help and from whom? So, what I always say is that if I feel like I need help, I have to really quantify and qualify what is the type of help that I need. Do I need to bounce some ideas off of someone? And I'll give an example. Recently, I was with one of my mentors, and we were talking about what it is that I'm doing, and that I'm always interested in helping other people. That is one of the main things that I have. I really want to reach out and help people and bring value. And so this person suggested that I start a nonprofit. And so I thought, wow, I don't actually know anything about starting a nonprofit. I am on the board of the Crohn's Colitis Foundation, but I'm not involved in the structure. So I did a lot of research on it. And then I started asking other people who have nonprofits, what's been your experience? So I'm going to go to people who are doing something that I want to do and they're doing it really well. I'm not going to go to people in my immediate circle who have no experience with forming a nonprofit because they're going to give their opinions. Well, why do you need something else on your plate? Aren't you busy enough? What about this? And what about things that come up for people who don't have the experience, who aren't in that same background of where it is I want to go. They might mean well, but they're not going to actually provide any value in terms of how I actually do what it is I need to do. So look to people who are in your circle. And if they're not in your circle, LinkedIn is a great place to go. You can go to LinkedIn and you can put in whatever it is. nonprofit president, for example, in my case. And then you can just reach out to people. Most times, people who are very happy with themselves, who are doing well, they are more than happy to answer questions, to speak with you, sometimes even to meet with you. When people are insecure, they typically are coming from a place of ego. And again, I'm generalizing, but they might not want to help you because they think, what's in it for them? What are they going to get out of spending their time talking to you? Whereas I've always felt the opposite way. I am always interested in learning something from other people, but we have to put a boundary on that as well. And I'm going to just briefly share the fact that I have a course and a book that are coming out, and it's basically Stop Giving Away Your Value. This is hugely important for business owners, and you can sign up for the course over on my website, drjacalyn.com, and you can also purchase the book. You can pre-order the book on Amazon, and here's the book. So I bring this up because as business owners, we only have the same number of hours in a day as someone else. But when you work for someone else, at least my experience, having been in corporate for, I think, 30 years, you're getting a paycheck. You're on the clock, then you're off the clock. When you leave the building, it's usually someone else's issue, unless you're in sales, for example, and you've got quotas to meet, or maybe you're in service and things aren't going well. There's all different ways that we could explore that on another program. But when you're running your own business, you're never really away from it. So when I mentioned I was over in Europe traveling, even though I had people producing the shows and doing the accounting and the bookkeeping and whatnot, I still am responsible for the business. So I still had to be available to answer calls. I still had to be available to watch shows and see how they were going. So you never are fully away if your heart is really in it, I think, and if you have a certain level of passion for it. So we know now, hopefully, how and when to ask for help and for whom to ask help from. So the next thing is understanding when that isolation can be harmful. So as I mentioned, I spend a big majority of my time being alone. And I don't mind it. I'm very happy with it because I come up with all kinds of ideas and I really love what I'm doing. Before, when I was in corporate and I was working for a company, I traveled the world. I had clients and we had a lot of entertainment, and I really was never alone. And what I found was, whether it was related or not, that my ulcerative colitis was really bad and I was super, super sick. So now I'm coming from a place where, ulcerative colitis is incurable. So I still have the disease, but I've been in remission. I'm going to knock on wood and say, please, God, I've been in remission for almost a year. So I really attribute that to the fact that I absolutely love what I'm doing. But there are times when we're in business when we can be alone, and it's not a good thing because we start questioning everything that we're doing. And this is a point when I would say, step away from what you're doing. And actually, as I mentioned before, have that bird's eye view, that eagle's view of what's going on in your business, and decide to yourself, do I really love what I'm doing? Or am I just doing it and I'm not getting the joy out of it? And we get a choice. That's the beautiful thing as humans. We get to choose how we want to spend our time. So the cost of carrying everything alone is that we get to choose how we carry it. We get to choose how we delegate. We get to choose how we want to spend our time in the business, on the business, over the business, etc. So I know I'm giving you a lot of information right now, but I'm trying to give you as much as I can from my own experience. In my case, I think being isolated has really resulted in tremendous growth. And as I shared before, this is our fourth year anniversary. So there's no one to celebrate with at the moment, but I'm really incredibly grateful that after 4 years, we are still in business and we are still growing. And, many businesses fail after 3 years. So, as much as I'd love to celebrate with my parents, they both have passed on, I am celebrating by myself. And I'm just sharing with you that we have these incredible moments in life when maybe there is no one else there, but we can still celebrate. You can be in isolation and still feel like you have everything that you need. It's all a matter of perspective. And I truly believe how we feel about ourselves. And at the core of all of this is something that I really am very passionate about. I'm a peace ambassador, and I really believe in us finding inner peace. When we have that inner peace, then that isolation is not a negative thing. It's not you're running and hiding because you don't want to face the world. You're choosing to spend your time growing personally, growing professionally. As I mentioned, I'm taking a course at Wharton Business School, and I don't really need to have any formal education because I've got the bachelor's, the master's, and I've got the doctorate. But I chose to apply to see if I could get in. And when Wharton accepted me, I was thrilled. So my point is, I've chosen to get more formal education, especially when it comes to strategy, so that I can continue to grow this business and my other business because I don't know everything. So keep that in mind. We can choose how we look at being isolated. Now, many times we as leaders will introduce trusted advisors, a board possibly, brainstorming, focus groups. And sometimes leaders can be concerned that when we bring other people into the business, that we're going to lose our leverage. And I found that that's not true. That again comes from a place of fear. So think about two places you can come from. One is love, and the other is fear. And when you come from a place of fear, you could be questioning everything. You could be keeping things so tightly held, so tight to the chest that you're not able to grow. Because if you're not going to trust anyone, then that really is limiting. And I've shared this before, but I've brought on people as partners. I've hired consultants, I've hired suppliers, and overall, it's been a good experience. But there have been three experiences that were very negative, and they stay with me all the time as a reminder that sometimes we trust and we misplace where we put that trust. So I'd hired some partners and I paid them, I think, $32,500 to do certain things. And then they just didn't do them. And I had to do it myself. So what happened was, as a result of that, I learned how to do certain things, which I don't want to say because I don't want to say specifically who the people are. They know who they are. But the one thing I can say is that every time I have made what I will call a mistake, I have gained incredible value from it. And the one piece of advice that I took from the situation where these partners took my money was put the emotion aside and find the solution. And that is something that has stuck with me because my father would always say I was really prone to high highs and low lows. And now I'm like this. And I've had to work on it. But not that I never feel emotions, of course I do. But as business owners, think about it. If you become so highly emotional about something, it can completely derail whatever it is that you're doing. Maybe your stakeholders see it, maybe your team sees it, your customers see it, and then all of a sudden people start questioning whether or not you're still fit to be running the organization. So I will acknowledge whatever the emotions are, but I quickly want to move to what is the solution. So if you're in a situation where you feel highly isolated and it's starting to really get to you, think about maybe you can change your work environment, or maybe you can change your work philosophy, or maybe you can bring on board a trusted advisor, Or maybe you can share with somebody like a therapist or a counselor or a coach, someone that you trust that you can talk to. Again, we get to make choices. So, as business owners, notice what's coming up for you, notice what the emotions are, acknowledge them, and then set a boundary. I will allow myself to feel angry, to feel anxious, to feel afraid for 10 minutes. That's what I use, 10 minutes. Now, once in a while, there might be something I need an hour. But after the hour, that's it. I'm not wasting any more time on negative emotions. Instead, I'm going to look for what is the solution. My final reflections on this are: if you are looking to be a sustainable leader for your organization, it is super important that you feel heard and listened to. You've got to have someone you can share with. And again, sometimes people in our immediate circle, very well meaning, are going into problem solving mode. And we don't want someone to solve problems, especially knowing our audience. If people don't know how to do what you do, how can they possibly come up with a solution or an answer? But yet people will try to, either because they want to feel like they're part of what you're doing, they feel kind of isolated themselves, or maybe they don't really like what you're doing and they just want you to stop doing it. They just give you bad advice. But we need to go to people who understand what's going on. I recently had a conversation in the last week with someone, and it was so interesting because what I shared was, since I started in this television business, many of the people that I used to have in my life are gone for one reason or another. And the people who are here today are typically people who are in the television business, because we understand what it takes to run a television show, or what it's like to be in the public domain and all the work that goes on behind the scenes. So even though the core group of people that I had in my life before the pandemic, they're gone, I have a new group of people in my life who are doing some of the similar things that I'm doing, who have an interest in education or finding peace or giving back. And so one door closes and another one opens if you're receptive to it, if you're open to it. So as business owners, in terms of carrying everything by yourself, you get a choice. You get a choice to say, okay, I'm happy doing this, I'm going to keep doing it. Or I'm at the point where I need some help, so I'm going to go to a trusted advisor or a mentor or another business owner, and I'm going to ask for counsel just in what are they doing, not specifically what should I do, because how do they know what I should do, what you should do? We don't know what each other should do. We can just give our advice, but that doesn't mean that it's good advice. And then make decisions. Do I like what I'm doing? Do I love what I'm doing? Do I want to keep doing what I'm doing? And share that maybe in a journal. Write things down. I write everything down. I love just writing things down. I feel like I get it out of my system and then I can look at it later. But find a way for your passion when it comes to your work or your business, for it to shine through. And if it's not shining through, maybe take some time and figure out what it is that really will bring you joy. We're only here for a short time. So finding what it is that lights us up is really the key to peace. Otherwise, we're struggling, we're anxious, we're upset. So I hope that wherever it is that your life takes you on your journey, that it is filled with passion and joy. And of course, the best of health. And I hope one day you'll be celebrating, like I am today, a milestone in my personal and professional career as an entrepreneur. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with our next show very shortly. In the meantime, we're going over to our sponsors. Again, thanks for being here. Bye for now. USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to TracyCramPerkins.com. Tracy Cram Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Every woman carries a story of strength, of purpose, of light. Through her courage, the world is transformed. Through her grace, generations are inspired. This is Iconic Women. Within Every Woman Lives a Goddess, a celebration of brilliance, beauty, and empowerment. Join us every Wednesday at 11 a.m. New York, 4 p.m. London time, only here on USA, Global TVR, and Radio. Featuring the iconic Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK, honoring voices that shine across the world. Subscribe to our YouTube channels, USA Global TV and Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK, to watch and engage with all our content. World-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honored to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.